toothbrush hits the floor in front of me with a sharp clink, so small and harmless looking that for a moment I don't even understand what she expects. Then her shadow stretches over me, and her voice, cold, clipped, and dripping with authority she should never have possessed, cuts through the air. "Scrub the floors," she says. With that, I stare at her, dumbfounded. She folds her arms, raising an eyebrow as if daring me to refuse. My pride flares instantly. I open my mouth to protest, to remind her who I am, who my father is. But the amusement in her eyes tells me she already knows, and she doesn't care. "Go on," she adds, nudging the little brush toward me with the tip of her boot. "The floors won't clean themselves." My jaw tightens. The marble tiles stretch across the room, cold and gleaming like slabs of ice. I lower myself slowly to my knees, feeling the sting as they meet the hard surface. Every part of me screams against this humiliation. A prince does not kneel. A prince does not take orders from someone like her. But here I am. I pick up the toothbrush. It feels ridiculously small between my fingers, as if meant for a child, not for scrubbing floors. I dip it into the bucket she's placed beside me, dirty water sloshing over the edges, and I begin. The bristles scratch against stone, faint at first, then louder, scraping into the silence of the room. I move the brush back and forth, my wrist already aching from the awkward angle. I can feel her watching me, feel her satisfaction soaking into the air like humidity. "Faster," she says lazily, "unless you want to be here all night." I grit my teeth. I say nothing. My pride curls up inside me like a wounded animal, but refusing won't help me now. The guards outside won't defy the woman who holds the authority here, not without an order from the king himself. And the king, my father, has no idea where I am. Scrubbing continues. The floor is cold beneath my knees, and each movement sends a dull ache crawling up my legs. My palms burn as they press into the tiles for balance. The damp air smells of dust and old stone, mixed with the sting of humiliation that clings to my skin like sweat. Two servants walk by, whispering. One glances at me with pity, the other smirks as if enjoying the show. I bow my head lower, not wanting to give them the satisfaction of meeting their eyes. "I'm a prince," I whisper under my breath, barely audible even to myself. "This is temporary. This will end." But she hears me. She steps closer, her boots clicking sharply. "A prince?" she repeats softly, mockingly. She crouches down to my level, her face just inches from mine. Her eyes gleam with something between anger and triumph. "Not here," she whispers. "Here, you are nothing." Her breath grazes my cheek as she stands again. She begins pacing the room slowly as I continue scrubbing. Each stroke of the toothbrush sends little shoots of pain up my arm, but I keep going. I will not give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. The minutes stretch, turning into long, suffocating fragments of time. My back aches, my knees throb, and the bucket water grows murkier with each dip of the brush. Sweat drips down my temple, smudging the dust on my face. She stops pacing and leans against a pillar, arms crossed. "You missed a spot," she says. I swallow the urge to snap back. I move to the area she pointed at and scrub harder, forcing my mind to focus on the motion, rather than the burning humiliation flooding my veins. Thunder rumbles outside, low, distant but heavy. It shakes the windows slightly, and for a brief moment, I imagine the world beyond these walls. My kingdom, my father, my freedom. One day, I think, one day this will be different. But today, I scrub floors with a toothbrush under her watchful, merciless gaze.
The hours blur together as I continue scrubbing the cold marble floor, my knees pressed painfully against the stone. My arms feel heavy now, each movement of the toothbrush slower than before, as if my body is beginning to surrender, even if my mind refuses to. The water in the bucket is darker than when I started, carrying the dirt I have scraped from the floor, and it feels strangely symbolic, as if all the humiliation I am enduring has been mixed into it.
She doesn't leave. That is the worst part. She remains in the room, watching me like I am nothing more than a task she hasn't finished enjoying yet. Every now and then she shifts her weight or crosses the room, but her presence never fades. It presses down on me harder than the weight in my arms. "Still slow," she says suddenly, her voice cutting through the silence. I don't respond. I can't afford to. My throat feels tight, my pride buried somewhere under exhaustion and anger. I just continue scrubbing, forcing my hand to move even when it trembles. She walks closer again, her shoes clicking sharply against the floor I am trying to clean. She stops just beside me, looking down as if inspecting an object she is not satisfied with. "You know," she says slowly, "I thought someone like you would at least have pride. But I guess that was just a rumor too." My grip tightens around the toothbrush, the bristles scrape harder against the stone, and for a moment I consider standing up, throwing everything aside and confronting her, but I know what would happen. I am outnumbered, outpowered, and right now, unheard. Still, her words sting deeper than the physical pain. "You don't understand anything," I say quietly, my voice rough. She laughs softly, almost amused. Then explain it to me, she replies. Tell me how a prince ends up on the floor like this. I pause for a second, my hand stilling. The truth sits heavy in my chest. I could tell her who I am. I could reveal everything. But something about the way she looks at me tells me it wouldn't matter. Not yet. Instead, I return to scrubbing. Her expression changes slightly, irritation flickering across her face. That's what I thought, she says. No answers, just obedience. I feel a surge of frustration rising inside me, but I swallow it down. The toothbrush slips slightly in my wet hand as I shift position, trying to ease the pain in my knees. My whole body aches now, every muscle protesting. She circles around me slowly, like a predator examining something trapped. Do you know why I'm doing this? She asks. I hesitate, then answer quietly, because you want control. She stops. For a moment, there is silence. Even the air feels heavier. Control? She repeats, her voice sharper now. No, this is not about control. She crouches down slightly, her eyes narrowing. This is about justice. The word hangs in the air, sharp and unfamiliar in this context. My family lost everything because of your people, she continues, her voice lowering but intensifying. We were thrown out, ignored, destroyed. While you lived in your palace, we struggled to survive. I look up at her then, finally meeting her eyes. There is anger there, but also something deeper, something like pain that has been carried too long. I didn't do that, I say quietly. She lets out a short, bitter laugh. You were part of it, she replies instantly. That's enough. Her words silence me. She stands again, stepping back slightly as if to give herself space to continue watching me suffer. So no, she says coldly. You don't get to stand on pride here. You don't get to be a prince here. I lower my gaze again and resume scrubbing, but something inside me feels different now. Heavier, more complicated. The humiliation is still there, sharp and burning, but now it is tangled with something else. Questions I cannot answer yet. The room feels colder than before. The silence between us is thicker, and as I continue dragging the toothbrush across the floor, I realize this is no longer just punishment. It is something deeper, something that hasn't finished unfolding yet. The sound of scrubbing has barely faded when everything changes. At first, it is subtle, a distant vibration in the floor, like thunder rolling too close to the earth. I pause, still kneeling, the toothbrush frozen in my hand. Even she notices it. Her posture stiffens slightly, her eyes narrowing as she glances toward the large doors of the hall. The vibration grows stronger. Dust trembles faintly from the high ceiling. A deep, heavy silence follows, as if the entire building is holding its breath. Then it happens. A loud boom shakes the entrance. The massive doors of the palace hall burst open with force, crashing against the stone walls. The sound echoes violently through the corridor, sending a shockwave through the air. Guards outside are thrown into motion instantly, but they are too slow, too late. Boots thunder across the marble floor. Armored figures flood in, moving with precision and discipline. Steel glints under the light as a line of royal guards enters, their weapons drawn, their presence commanding instant fear. The air changes completely. What was once humiliation now feels like authority returning in full force. I stare, still on my knees, unable to move. And then I see him. My father. He steps through the broken entrance like the storm itself has taken human form. His royal cloak flows behind him, dark and heavy, his presence overwhelming every inch of the room. His eyes scan the hall rapidly, sharp and furious, until they land on me. Everything else disappears in that moment. Enough! His voice booms, low and deadly calm, yet shaking the entire space. The guards behind him spread out instantly, securing every exit. No one moves. Even the servants who were watching earlier have frozen in place, fear replacing curiosity. My father takes one step forward, then another. His gaze never leaves me. Who dared to do this? He asks, though his tone already carries the answer. It is not a question. It is a warning. The girl standing near me stiffens. For the first time since I saw her, I see something crack in her confidence. Her arms lower slightly, her expression shifting from control to uncertainty. I try to stand, but my legs feel weak. My knees hurt from the cold floor, and my body feels heavier than before. One of the guards immediately moves toward me, but my father raises a hand. No, he says firmly. Let him rise himself. I push myself up slowly, every muscle aching in protest. The toothbrush falls from my hand and clatters against the floor. I finally stand, but only barely. My father steps closer now, his presence shielding me like armor. His eyes soften just slightly when he sees the dust on my clothes, the exhaustion on my face, the humiliation I have been forced to endure. Then his gaze turns cold again. He looks at her. The room feels like it drops in temperature. You, he says quietly. The girl does not speak. She cannot. Her lips part slightly, but no words come out. My father takes another step forward. The guards behind him tighten their formation. "You touched my son," he continues, his voice dangerously calm now. "You made him kneel." The silence is suffocating. "I didn't know," she finally starts, but her voice breaks halfway. "That is not an excuse," he cuts in sharply. I glance at her. For the first time, she no longer looks powerful. She looks trapped. My father turns slightly toward me, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Are you hurt?" he asks quietly. I hesitate. My pride wants to say no. My body says otherwise. I simply shake my head. But he sees everything anyway. Slowly, his hand tightens, not on me, but in anger controlled too well. He looks back at her. "Guards," he says, his voice final and absolute. "Bring her to the throne hall." She takes a step back instinctively, but there is nowhere to go. The guards begin to move forward. And as they do, she finally looks at me properly. Not with arrogance anymore, not with control, but with something far more complicated. Fear, and realization that everything has changed in a single moment she cannot undo. The guards move quickly, surrounding her from all sides before she can even take another step back. The sound of their armored boots echoes sharply across the marble floor, each step sealing her fate a little more. Her earlier confidence is gone completely now, replaced by stiff, uneven breathing and wide eyes that keep shifting between me, my father, and the armed soldiers closing in. "No, wait," she says again, but her voice is weaker this time. "I didn't know who he was." My father doesn't even look at her when he responds. "That is exactly your mistake." The guards grip her arms firmly. She tries to pull away, but it is useless. The strength she once used to command me with ease now means nothing against trained soldiers of the royal palace. Her feet stumble slightly as they begin to lead her forward. I stand behind my father, still feeling the weight of everything that just happened. My hands are trembling, not from fear anymore, but from exhaustion and disbelief. The toothbrush lies abandoned on the floor, a small object that now feels like a symbol of something far larger than humiliation. The girl looks back at me as she is dragged away. For a brief second, our eyes meet again, but this time, there is no pride in hers, only shock, and something that almost looks like regret. My father watches her carefully as she is brought forward. His expression remains firm, controlled, but there is a fire behind his eyes that hasn't cooled since he entered the hall. "Take her to the throne room," he orders again. "She will answer there." The guards tighten their hold and begin escorting her out of the hall. Her footsteps echo unevenly, resisting slightly but fading with every step. The grand doors, which had burst open so violently moments ago, now stand wide as she is taken through them, marking the end of her control over this place. Silence slowly returns to the hall after she disappears. My father turns toward me fully now. The intensity in his gaze softens just a little as he looks at my condition more carefully. The dust on my clothes, the marks on my knees, the tiredness in my eyes that I can no longer hide. He steps closer and places a steady hand on my shoulder. "This will never happen again," he says quietly, but there is absolute certainty in his voice. I nod slightly, though I don't trust my voice yet. Around us, the remaining servants and guards stand frozen, unsure of what to do. The atmosphere has completely shifted. What was once a place of control for her is now a space filled with royal authority returning in full force. One of the royal guards steps forward. "Your Majesty, shall we secure the entire wing?" My father doesn't hesitate. "Yes, no one enters or leaves without my command." The guard bows and moves quickly to obey. I glance once more toward the direction she was taken. The anger I felt earlier is still there, but now it is tangled with something more confusing. Questions I don't fully understand yet. Why did she hate me so much? Why did she believe I deserved this? My father notices my silence. "You don't need to think about her right now," he says firmly, guiding me gently away from the center of the hall. "You need to recover." As we begin walking, I feel the weight lifting slightly, not because what happened is gone, but because power has finally returned to where it belongs. Still, something inside me refuses to settle completely. The memory of her voice, her anger, and her pain refuses to disappear. Behind us, the palace is already changing. Guards move with purpose, doors are secured, and authority is restored. But I know this is not the end. As we reach the exit, I look back one last time at the empty hall. Nothing is the same anymore. Not for her, not for me, and not for whatever comes next.